Have you ever felt a chill run down your spine, even on the warmest night? A sense that you're not alone, even in the deepest solitude? There are places in this world where the veil between life and death wears thin. This is a story about one such place, and the night I learned that some shortcuts lead only to deeper darkness. It began simply enough. A late-night drive, a familiar route, a desire to shave a few minutes off my journey. But the moment I turned onto Black Hollow Road, a weight settled over me. A premonition that I was stepping into something I didn't understand. I took a shortcut through Black Hollow Cemetery that night just to save a few minutes. The moon was a sliver, choked out by clouds. No wind, no sound, just dead silence pressing in on all sides. I passed a crumbling stone arch, swallowed in vines, a skeletal hand reaching from the grave. Then the gate behind me slammed shut. The sound echoed through the empty graveyard, a sharp clang that seemed to hang in the air long after it faded. Ahead, the graveyard stretched endlessly, rows of headstones like teeth in the yawning maw of the night. But something was wrong, terribly wrong. One grave near the path wasn't closed, a fresh hole, clean edges, open and waiting. I slowed, bent closer, drawn in by a force I couldn't name. The dirt wasn't just soft, it was moving, shifting like something was breathing beneath it. Then I heard it, scrape, 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 from deep underground. A slow, deliberate sound that set my teeth on edge. A whisper, cold as a corpse's touch, reached my ear. It's not your time. I turned to run, but the graves were closer now, like they'd shifted toward me while my back was turned. I ran, heart hammering against my ribs, breath catching in my throat, but no matter which way I turned, the graves kept rearranging. It was like the entire graveyard was shifting around me, a macabre maze with no exit. Left path? A headstone cold and rough blocked it. Right? Another open hole, the darkness within beckoning me closer. The wind was gone. Even my footsteps made no sound now, as if the very air was holding its breath. A tree stood in the center of the yard, silhouetted against the overcast sky. But as I got closer, I realized it wasn't a tree at all. Bones hung from its branches, bleached white and picked clean. No leaves, just names carved in the flesh, each one glowing with a faint internal light. I saw one glowing faintly, my last name. My blood ran cold, something brushed past me, cold, hollow, like a draft from an open tomb. Behind me, the whisper returned, closer this time. You're already inside. I turned, and my reflection was standing on the other side of the grave, staring back at me with empty eyes. The ground under my feet pulsed, like a heartbeat, slow and steady. I dropped to my knees, my fear giving way to a horrifying curiosity. I pressed my ear to the cold, damp dirt, breathing. Something buried deep was still alive, or pretending to be. Suddenly hands burst from the soil, skeletal, twisted, soaked in mud. I screamed, scrambling back, but the wind, if you could call it that, swallowed my voice. The figure crawling out had no eyes, no mouth, just soil pouring from the sockets where they should have been, and a voice that seemed to come from the very earth itself. It reached for me, whispering, "Finish digging me out." I stepped back, my foot catching on the edge of another grave. It yawned open behind me. And another. The ground was peeling itself apart, revealing the secrets it had kept hidden for centuries. I stumbled back, my foot catching on a cracked stone cross. I fell, scraping my palms on the rough ground. I fumbled for my flashlight, but it wouldn't turn on. My phone was dead. But then, a faint glow came from the headstone beside me, a sickly greenish light that seemed to emanate from within the stone itself. I wiped off the moss with a trembling hand. My name, first, middle, and last, engraved there in cold, unyielding stone. Date of death, today's date. I screamed and turned, but there were 10 shadows now, standing, staring, silent. Each one held a shovel, and each one looked just like me. I backed away, my foot finding only empty air. The ground beneath me gave way. I was falling into my own grave. I woke up face down in cold dirt. The air was thick, heavy, suffocating. I tried to sit up, but something pressed down on me, pinning me in place. The grave was closed, but I was inside. I couldn't scream, I couldn't move. Panic clawed at my throat, but no sound came out. Then I heard laughter, not from above but beside me, a dry, rasping sound that sent chills down my spine. Another body lay in the coffin, pressed shoulder to shoulder with me. I could feel its coldness against my skin. "You weren't supposed to leave," it whispered, its voice a hollow echo in the darkness. Then, light, not white, not warm, just flickering flame, casting dancing shadows on the walls of my tomb. I was back at the entrance. Morning had come, but no birds sang, no sun warmed the sky, just open graves behind me, stretching as far as the eye could see, and a whisper that never left, a constant presence in the back of my mind. "You're still buried. You just haven't noticed yet." I stumbled out of Black Hollow Cemetery that morning a changed man. The world seemed different, sharper, colder. The line between the living and the dead, once so clear, had blurred. They tell me it was just a nightmare, a bad dream brought on by stress and exhaustion. But I know the truth. I felt the weight of the soil on my skin. I heard the whispers in the darkness. I saw my name on that grave. And sometimes, when the wind is right and the moon is hidden behind the clouds, I can still feel it. The cold, clammy touch of the earth, reminding me that some graves never truly close. Old Man Hemlock, the gravedigger of Raven's Rest Cemetery, wasn't a man who scared easily. He'd spent a lifetime amidst the cold stones and hushed whispers of the dead. He scoffed at tales of curses and restless spirits. "Just stories folks tell to scare themselves silly," he'd say, tapping his pipe. One particularly dreary afternoon, a stranger arrived at the cemetery gates. Tall and gaunt, with eyes that seemed to hold too many shadows, he offered Hemlock a proposition: dig an unmarked grave by nightfall, and a hefty sum of money would be his. Hemlock, never one to turn down a full purse, agreed. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of blood orange and bruised purple as Hemlock gathered his tools. He cast a wary glance at the approaching darkness, a sense of foreboding settling over him like a shroud. As Hemlock made his way through the crooked rows of headstones, each step seemed to echo with an unnatural resonance, as if the very ground beneath his feet was holding its breath. A chill wind whistled through the skeletal branches of the ancient oaks, their shadows twisting and writhing on the ground like phantoms. Hemlock shivered, pulling his threadbare coat tighter around him. He'd dug countless graves under the watchful gaze of the moon, but tonight felt different, heavier somehow. The air crackled with a strange energy, as if the very atmosphere itself was aware of his presence, watching his every move. He found the unmarked spot with an unsettling ease, the patch of earth strangely undisturbed. As he sank his shovel into the ground, he was met with an unexpected resistance. The soil here was warm, almost hot to the touch, and it emitted a faint, sickly sweet odor that made his stomach churn. He ignored the alarming sensations, attributing them to the lateness of the hour and the unsettling atmosphere of the place. He dug deeper, the rhythmic clang of metal against earth the only sound in the oppressive silence. His shovel struck something solid, something that yielded with a sickening crunch. Hemlock dropped his shovel, his heart pounding against his ribs like a frantic bird in a cage. The grave lay open before him, a gaping maw in the earth. A low, guttural growl emanated from its depths, sending shivers down Hemlock's spine. It wasn't the growl of an animal, he realized with growing dread, but something far more ancient, far more sinister. Then he heard it. A voice, raspy and weak, but undeniably human. It rose from the grave, weaving its way into his mind, whispering his name. "Hemlock, help me." The voice was filled with such despair, such raw desperation that Hemlock felt a pang of pity, a flicker of compassion that warred with the overwhelming terror that threatened to consume him. Against his better judgment, he found himself drawn to the edge of the grave. Peering into the darkness, he could just make out a pale hand, its fingers grasping at the edge of the disturbed earth. "Help me!" the voice rasped again, closer now, the sound like dry leaves rustling in the wind. Hemlock hesitated, torn between the instinct to flee and the unsettling plea for help. He knew he should walk away, knew that whatever lay buried in that grave was best left undisturbed. Summoning what little courage he could muster, Hemlock took a hesitant step towards the grave. As he did so, a wave of cold, fetid air struck him, carrying with it the stench of decay and the faint but unmistakable scent of grave dirt. He recoiled instinctively, his hand flying to cover his nose and mouth against the overwhelming stench. When he could breathe again, he forced himself to look back into the grave. Two eyes, glowing with an unnatural light, stared back at him from the darkness. They were set in a face that was more void than flesh, a smooth, featureless expanse that seemed to suck the light from the surrounding air. The sight sent a jolt of pure, primal terror through Hemlock, making his blood run cold. He stumbled back, his foot catching on the edge of the grave. "Who? What are you?" Hemlock stammered, his voice barely a whisper. The figure in the grave shifted, a low groan escaping its lips. It reached out again, its hand now just inches from his face. Hemlock tried to pull away, to break free from the hypnotic gaze of those glowing eyes, but his body refused to obey. A scream caught in Hemlock's throat, a strangled, desperate sound that was swallowed by the oppressive silence of the graveyard. The hand tightened its grip on his ankle, its touch icy cold, sending a jolt of pure terror through his veins. He thrashed against the unseen force that held him captive, but it was no use. He was trapped, at the mercy of whatever malevolent entity he had unwittingly disturbed. As he stared into the faceless visage before him, a desperate plan formed in his mind. His gaze darted to the shovel lying discarded on the ground nearby. Summoning every ounce of strength he possessed, he lunged for the shovel, his fingers closing around the worn wooden handle. The figure in the grave hissed, a sound filled with rage and hunger. Hemlock kicked out, his boot connecting with something solid. With a grunt, he scrambled back, putting some distance between himself and the creature in the grave. He raised the shovel high above his head, his heart pounding in his chest. Hemlock stood there for a moment, chest heaving, the shovel still clutched in his trembling hand. The silence around him was deafening, broken only by the sound of his own ragged breathing. He strained his ears, listening for any sign of movement, any indication that the creature was still nearby, but there was nothing. The graveyard had fallen silent once more, the only sound the gentle rustling of leaves in the wind. He lowered the shovel slowly, his gaze scanning the darkened headstones, but there was no sign of the faceless figure. Had he imagined it all? Was the encounter nothing more than a figment of his imagination, fueled by fear and the unsettling atmosphere of the graveyard? As he looked, he noticed something strange. The earth was moving, shifting as if something was trying to claw its way out from beneath the surface. He watched in horrified fascination as a hand, pale and skeletal, broke through the earth, its fingers grasping at the air. Then, he heard it again, the voice, closer now, whispering his name. But it wasn't just one voice this time. It was a chorus of voices rising from the ground all around him, whispering his name in unison. Hemlock cried out, a desperate, wordless plea for mercy that was swallowed by the night. He tried to scramble back to pull himself free from the grasping hands, but it was no use. They were everywhere, pulling him down, dragging him towards the cold, unforgiving earth. He caught a glimpse of the faceless figure, its eyes glowing with a malevolent light, before he was pulled beneath the surface, disappearing into the darkness. The graveyard fell silent once more, the only sound the gentle rustling of leaves in the wind. The freshly dug grave remained open, a testament to the horrors that had transpired there. The unmarked headstones stood silent and watchful, their shadows stretching long and thin in the moonlight, guarding the secrets of Raven's Rest Cemetery. And what of Old Man Hemlock? Some say he became another lost soul in that cursed place, his own spirit condemned to wander the graveyard for all eternity. Others whisper that he became something far worse, a guardian of the cemetery's dark secrets, his voice now one of the many that lured unsuspecting souls to their doom. Whatever his fate, one thing is certain, Hemlock's greed and curiosity had cost him dearly, trapping him forever in the clutches of Raven's Rest. The air hung heavy, thick with the promise of rain and something else I couldn't place. St. Elora Cemetery loomed before me, iron gates a gaping maw against the dying light. 50 quid. That's what this was costing me. 50 quid to swap a warm bed for a night in this godforsaken place. 50 quid to tempt fate, to stare death in the face. Madness. But I needed the money. And fear, well, fear had a price. The old gate creaked open, the sound like a death rattle echoing in the stillness. A shiver snaked down my spine, but I pushed forward. The setting sun cast long skeletal shadows from the crooked headstones, twisting them into grotesque shapes that danced at the edge of my vision. With each step, the outside world felt further away, the air growing colder, the silence more oppressive. Silence. Not the peaceful kind that cradles you to sleep, but a heavy expectant hush that pressed down on me, suffocating. It was the silence of a held breath, of 1,000 eyes watching, waiting, and beneath it, a whisper, faint, like the rustle of dead leaves, but there, a murmur that seemed to rise from the very ground itself, weaving between the graves, carrying on the wind. I strained to listen, my heart pounding in my ears. Was it the wind playing tricks on me, or was it something more sinister? The whispers of the dead rising from their eternal slumber. The hairs on the back of my neck prickled with a sudden chill. I quickened my pace, my eyes darting nervously between the looming shadows and the whispering graves. The ground beneath my feet felt strangely unsteady, as if the earth itself were breathing, shallow, rasping breaths that sent tremors through the soles of my shoes. Or was it just my imagination, playing tricks on me in the growing darkness? Panic began to claw at the edges of my bravado. I wanted out, then I saw it. Movement out of the corner of my eye, a flicker of shadow, a ripple in the air. When I turned my head, it was gone, but I could have sworn I saw the ground twitch, as if something beneath the surface was shifting, struggling to break free. Terror, cold and sharp, pierced through my fear. I spun around, searching for the gate, my only escape, but it was gone. Vanished. Panic swelled, choking me. I was trapped. My foot snagged on something, sending me sprawling onto the cold, unforgiving ground. Scrambling back in terror, my hand landed on something cold and damp. Bone. I looked down. An open grave gaped before me, its dark depths yawning wide like the maw of some monstrous beast. And inside, a chorus of whispers, soft and insidious, slithered up from the piled bones. Then I saw him, or rather it, a figure, shrouded in shadows, rising from the depths of the open grave. It was tall and skeletal, its limbs impossibly long and thin. It had no face, just a smooth, featureless expanse where its head should have been. And yet I could feel its gaze, cold and empty, fixed on me. I wanted to scream, but terror had stolen my voice, leaving me paralyzed in the grip of its silent horror. The ground gave way beneath me. I fell, tumbling through the suffocating darkness, the whispers of the dead echoing all around me. Then, with a bone-jarring thud, I landed on something cold and hard. Stone. I was in a vast chamber, lit by an eerie, phosphorescent glow emanating from the walls. The air was thick with the smell of decay and the sound of singing. Hundreds, maybe thousands of skeletal figures surrounded me, their bony fingers interlaced, their hollow eyes staring into nothingness. Their voices, fragile and ethereal, filled the chamber, a haunting melody that sent shivers down my spine. They reached for me, their skeletal fingers brushing against my skin, their voices growing louder, more insistent. They were trying to steal my voice, to draw me into their eternal chorus. I scrambled back, desperate to escape the chilling choir, my skin crawling at their touch. A narrow tunnel, shrouded in darkness, offered a glimmer of hope. I didn't hesitate. I ran, scrambling over the cold, damp stones, the echoes of the singing corpses chasing after me. The tunnel twisted and turned, a labyrinth of darkness and despair. Just when I thought I could run no more, I stumbled out into another chamber. Standing in the center, bathed in a shaft of ethereal light, was a woman. Her beauty was breathtaking, her skin as pale as moonlight, her eyes pools of endless sorrow. She spoke, her voice like the tinkling of silver bells, offering me a way out. But the price, oh the price! She wanted my life force, my very essence, in exchange for freedom. A horrifying bargain, but one I was almost tempted to accept. The weight of her request pressed down on me, the seductive allure of her offer battling against the primal instinct screaming at me to run. But where could I run? This place was a labyrinth, a prison designed to break the spirit. As I stared into her sorrowful eyes, I realized the terrifying truth. I had already made my choice. By entering this place, I had surrendered any hope of escape. The next thing I knew, I was lying on the cold, hard ground. Sunlight streamed through the iron gates of St. Elora's, painting the dew-kissed grass with diamonds. I should have felt relief, gratitude even, but there was nothing. Only a chilling emptiness where my heart should be. As I rose to my feet, I caught my reflection in a granite headstone. My skin was ashen, my eyes hollow and cold. The whispers started again, this time coming from within me. I was no longer a visitor in this graveyard. I was a resident. Forever.